My name is Lance Mills, and right now we're standing on what used to be the foundation of our house that's in Swannanoa, right against the Swannanoa River, which is right there most of the time, but on September 27th it was everywhere that you could see. We bought the place in May of 2011, and my wife Sabrina and I and our kids, Jonah and Ollie, and this was just our center. It's a good home. I mean, it just felt, it's the most comfort I've ever experienced, being in a place that I knew was home. Many times as I've seen the height of the water in the river get to where it would make you nervous, I've never seen it come out over its banks. Just before light looked out in the driveway and the car already had water all the way up to the battery. There was already water halfway up the tires of the other cars. And I said, there's no way we're gonna try to go out in this. We'll stay here, we'll shelter in place, and we'll be okay. Or so we thought. And you know, water was thigh deep in the house, almost everywhere. And then we realized that the house was being pushed off its foundation. It was floating. I was standing, I think, in the kitchen, and that feeling of like being on a boat, you're not supposed to feel that inside your house, and realized that it was way worse than what we thought. The neighbor's shed floated up and it knocked into our porch, and the porch went a different direction. It got completely disconnected from the house, so that the roof over the porch collapsed. And all this is happening while we're still floating backwards in the house, not knowing what to do. And Jonah said, well, we're getting out of here, we're getting on the roof. And he took a flashlight at first and broke holes in the ceiling until he could get up in the attic. And then we found a hammer, and he had a hammer and a putty knife and I think a baseball bat eventually, and he asked for a knife to cut through the shingles, made a hole big enough. Got Sabrina up and out and got Ollie up and out, and then I was the last one, and like I say, I was trying to pull myself up and I just couldn't. And so they eventually just grabbed me and pulled me out. Even once we were on the roof, the house was still moving back, and we didn't know if it was gonna spin and find a way to where it would go straight towards the river. Luckily it hung up on those big pine trees, and we could hear as it settled in, there was still so much force of water on the front of the house that it was literally cracking the edge of the roof, and the entire framing of the roof joist would just shake every time it moved just a little bit more. And you know, we sat up there for about 2 hours, and then finally the rescue boats came, and they came in through the yard and were able to make it to about over there. We slid down the collapsed roof because that was the only way we could get down. They got us into the boats and got us to where we were safe. Had to leave the pets behind, but as the water receded, we came back, but we opened the door and Jonah went in, and he's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's like, where's the 6th one? I said, look in the closet. And he's like, hot damn, we got 6. Found 3 dogs and 3 cats in the back bedroom. A little worse for wear, but still alive. One of the hardest memories from that day, we were on the roof, you know, it's late September, so the leaves are still on, and we couldn't see much as far as the neighborhood that way, but at some point we heard someone yelling, help, help. And we thought, oh, well, maybe someone sees the rescue boats, and so we started yelling, help, help too. And didn't know it at the time, but one of our neighbors had, he got caught up by the floodwaters, and he was clinging to a tree, holding on for dear life, screaming, help, help. And my other neighbor was standing on his porch watching it, helpless, because there's nothing anyone could do. And he finally lost his grip, and he didn't make it. And we didn't know at the time that we were hearing his last breath. The thing that one of the things that I struggle with is that this was just Mother Nature doing what it does. This is physics. Water is uphill, it flows downhill. It goes to the lowest spot and it keeps going. When there's 42 trillion gallons of it, it looks a lot different than it does on a usual day. But we had no idea what was going to happen next. it's the uncertainty that day caused that's been one of the things that lingers. Yeah, it's just crazy. Oh, the kids tagged the house. We used to call, no, they did this while we were out of town. We used to call this place, that's what we called this place, this Little Eden.
We knew about this little road that's in Swannanoa. It's kind of off the beaten path a little bit, and we thought, I wonder if folks are okay down that road, and realized that not a lot of people knew where this was, and so we came back here.
One of the first person that we met was Lance. Lance was here with other people cleaning his land. And we came down from that box truck and we asked him if he needed any kind of help, and he said, yeah, I need everything.
One of the first things that happened is you sent a mess of volunteers over to help us pick up all the debris from everywhere else that had floated down into the last stop before the river, and got tons and tons taken care of, and it's still a giant mess, but you can look and you see progress.
Later he started telling us about all the story of what happened here, and how he survived, how the full family of him make the hole in the roof to be able to survive from the flood. And in the walk, I remember that I happened to see instruments.
I see the sun shining day.
One thing that we're almost guaranteed to hear in his house is music almost every day.
What is the thing that make a human feel like a human, and we decide that we have to buy new instruments for him.
One of the most beautiful days that I've had in the aftermath of the storm was the day that Lance came and he brought his buddy. There it is.
There's a lot of dust and rust and flood mud too, but we'll knock it off later.
And he hadn't played since the storm. And just to watch them play together and just all that music to come out of him again was just amazing.
I've never seen no darling brown eyes or heard the lion tongue. All the good times are past and gone. All the good times are over.
And then the next thing you said, hey, we've got a camper for you.
So I'm going to invite you to open the RV.
Okay.
And I was thinking, when I watched that Lance the first time, I was thinking, I know what kind of person you are.
And you said, well, go look inside and see what you think. And I looked into it, I was like, wow, this thing's brand new, it's really nice. And then I looked over on the bed.
You are the same than me. I'm looking in the mirror. I know the type of music that you like. You look exactly the same than myself.
So we bring you a little surprise.
So we decide to buy specific records. We buy Pink Floyd, we buy Bob Marley.
You were kidding me.
Led Zeppelin.
And there was a turntable there and a speaker, and there were half a dozen records, vinyl records. And it was thoughtful enough, kind enough to say, here, we want you to have some place to stay where you're warm and dry. But you had the presence of mind and the thoughtfulness to also say, here's also this other stuff.
You all are absolutely amazing.
It's not just surviving, it's getting some enjoyment, getting some joy, some extra joy. And that, like, I've told that story many times
we
because
have to come back with the RV and with the other part of the soul.
No words for this.
It just melted me. I didn't know what to say at the time, except for how could y'all be so kind? I mean, there's been that love, and it's those little things. It's that it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's such an enormous gesture of love and thoughtfulness those are the things that are joy that can't be ruined by the sorrow that it came out of. It's like a flower. These flowers coming up in all this mud, It's that bright spot.
To be able to write a new chapter for people in this very magical place. I stand here and This is surrounded by mountains and it's incredibly beautiful. And I know the story that they wrote here is beautiful. And to be able to say we can write a new chapter here, this is not the end of the story, is incredibly profound.
So for us, it's a perfect opportunity to connect and rebuild together and rebuild with the love and the power and the music that we need.